All right, we are live. We are live. Everybody, welcome to Empowerment Hour with Eddie and Vidal. This is episode 18, but Vidal is not here. So Vidal had an emergency issue, but that's the beauty of the relationships that me and Vidal have with other people. We have our guest, Jason J. Boom Lagarde here. And, of course, our main guest is Byron Thompson from Georgia. How you doing, Byron?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
All right, doing good, doing good. So just want to let you guys remind this Facebook, Facebook. Here we go. This is episode 18. So this is some powerful stuff. And for those of you guys that this might be your first show joining with us, Vidal and myself have started this a while back, and we started it to reach people's lives, and we started bringing on guests to share their stories. And actually, Jason was our first guest. So, you know, that's what Jason's been with the show for a bit. Jason was our first guest. And we bring on people to share their stories and share their stories of overcoming adversity, things that have affected their lives, things that have touched them, and how they've gotten from where they're at, where they used to be, to where they're at now. So obviously, they're in a lot better place. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here telling the stories. So got to turn it over to you real quick. Jason, how you doing down in Phoenix?
Oh, man, well, I tell you what, something must have been working out. And Mr. Vidal had something come up unexpectedly, but I actually got done with work actually earlier than normal on a Tuesday, and I walked in the door, and I got you guys' text, and I was like, for sure, I'm down to help out. I was going to be on the show watching live tonight anyways, because I know Byron from when he first joined up in a mutual company that we work with, ILN, but I myself have not had a chance to really hear Byron's story at all. So I'm probably more excited than usual for the show tonight because, you know, I'm friends with Byron, and we just hung out with him at the event last weekend. Fantastic guy. He's busting his ass, you know, working his business. But I'm really intrigued to hear him go deep. So, you know, I'm pumped, and I'm honored that, you know, you asked me to help out tonight. So, you know, gratitude for sure, man.
Awesome, awesome. We're good. Happy to have you here. I know I'm happy. I know Vidal's stoked that we have somebody like you to jump on with us to help us out. So that's awesome. So, but we got to turn it over to our Georgia Bulldog man, Byron Thompson. And Byron, here real quick, before I turn it over to him, I got to just say I met Byron online. I don't even know how long ago, but we just started connecting. We got similar tastes, you know, football. Of course, can't live in Georgia and not be a Bulldog fan. So, football fan, loves to hunt. We have a lot of things in common, and we've always connected. We kind of chat here and there, and then connect here and there. And then finally, about a week and a half ago, we finally got to hang out. We sat next to each other during an event. Actually, all three of us. And I was more impressed with Byron being around him, just seeing how smart he is, and his drive to do better and grow his business and just grow as a person is completely amazing. So it's awesome that I can say I'm surrounding myself with like-minded people. So Byron, tell us what you got going on right now. I know you're traveling, you're in a hotel room, but that's the beauty of the internet.
Yeah, I run all over the country, and you know, the thing is, I learned to carry a hard cable with me because the wireless in these hotel rooms is just really spotty. So fortunately, I'm hooked up on a hard line, so we shouldn't have any issues that way. And but running around, and I'm really humbled and honored to be on with you guys. I really, really am. When you get connected in this industry and you start meeting people and you make some close relationships, you know, it's really sort of surreal when you hear people say that your story said impacts, because, you know, as you go through the corporate world, very little is ever about the relationship. It's always about the job or what you can benefit that employer. So it's a different world, and I really, really appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, we're blessed. We're blessed, and because we have that common bond, that common connection, I guess. And this was even before we just kind of, it was a short notice that we were going to both happen to be in Phoenix, which was awesome. But we had talked before that, and you shared your story, and that's what I've done is just have myself and Vidal was like, let's talk to so and so. We like this person, we like what they're about. They got to have a story, and what people don't realize is every single one of you that's watching this, that watches a replay, everybody has a story, and some are more intense in other ways, but everybody still has an intense story. But I reached out to Byron, and Byron, before you get too deep into your story, tell us a little bit about, where you're from, where'd you grow up, how big your family, as a little kid, obviously just, I know like hunting, what got you into hunting? Was that something your dad got you into? So on and so forth. Just a little quick, give us a little description what it was like growing up being you and where you grew up.
Well, growing up was, I had a traditional childhood. I guess it was a little different than what I see today because I spent every waking minute I had as a kid from sunrise to sundown outside, playing, doing things like that. I will say that I grew up in a household where my dad was a salesman. In fact, even to this day, he's probably the best salesperson I've ever known. And I grew up with a pretty large family. There was 3 kids and mom and dad, and always lived in Georgia. We've lived in different parts of Georgia, but I've never lived anywhere but down here in the Peach State.
And that's awesome. That's one thing I can't wait. We've already talked, and we're talking about, because I love football. I love college football, and that's one thing that Byron and I talked about was, for me to take a trip back over there and go hang out with him and his wife and his buddies and show me around, and that's the beauty of connecting the way we've all connected with Jason. Me and Jason, same deal, all of us going here. But now growing up in there, at a young age, you started getting hit with some hard things in life that a lot of people, in my opinion, it would kind of put a damper on people's lives. And if you want to start us off there, kind of just get to it. Growing up, you had two brothers, and kind of start us there.
Yeah, I mean, up until I was about 12 years old, my life was a lot like Ozzie and Harriet. I mean, my mom and dad had a great marriage. My dad was a successful salesperson. We pretty much got what we wanted, and everything was kind of trucking along. And I was kind of the middle child. I had a younger brother who was 7 years younger than me. I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, and then I had an older sister who was 10 years older than me. And when I was 12 years old, my older brother went off with a couple of buddies, and we had just moved to this particular town, and they were not familiar with the roads. And they were going down this road, and there were no warning signs, but the road turned into gravel. And so the car just went out of control, started flipping. And anyways, my older brother got killed in that car wreck. And when you're 12 years old and you got a 17-year-old brother, he's kind of a hero. He's the guy you want to be. All you want to do is you follow him around. You irritate him because you want to be around him all the time. And, that was really tough because as a kid, I was unequipped or unprepared for that. And as hard as it was, the hardest thing I've ever watched in my life was my mom and dad lose a child. It wasn't me losing a brother. It was just experiencing the grief that my mom and dad went through. And so that was just kind of an altering moment. I didn't understand it. I didn't know how it would affect me later in life. But I do remember growing older, always wishing, well, it'd be nice if my siblings were here. And this was profound. And several years later, I had actually formed, because of that, a pretty good bond with my younger brother. And I know this is something that you're passionate about, Eddie. But when he was about 17 years old, I guess, he had a problem or run into a situation he didn't think he could handle. I was living away from him at the time, but at 17 years old, my younger brother decided to take his own life. So he committed suicide. And, you start out with this model family, and you sort of end up with an empty shell. and it really tore me apart. And I didn't really know how to handle it. I was sad, and I was kind of angry and mad at him at the same time. And so that's kind of part of my story, and it's hard to really tell in one time. I always tell people my life seemed to be on a parallel road, and there was this over here, which was what I was doing, and then there was this part over here, which is what happened to me. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, it's that's just one of those things where I don't even know how to go there. I know what you're talking about.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, I've quit 3 fairly successful careers in my lifetime, and I don't know if any of you feel like this. I really knew how to harness it. Before I knew the power of intention and intent and the power of focus and the real power we all have to choose our environment and our reality. Before I really knew that, I knew there was something that I should be doing that was great. I knew I had potential and I could do things and influence people, but I was really stuck in this situation of thinking that my circumstances are what they are, and that was about all the control I had. And that was over here. So I'm working and I'm getting started in a career, and basically I grew up in a business that my dad started. And when I got a little older, I decided that I just couldn't see myself doing that for 30 years.
Well, Byron, before we go, I know where you want to go on this, and sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I want Jason to say something on this, because Jason, I want to hear your thoughts on what Byron just shared, and I know Jason knows the effects of this too. So
Yeah.
this is
Wow. Yeah, I just had to kind of let that soak in, that part of Byron's story, and I got to give Byron a lot of credit, because that's a tough thing to share, and obviously it impacted his life in a profound way. I know firsthand. I lost a sibling at a very young age, and when Byron talked about how, when you're younger, whether you're 17, 12, or for my case I was 3, when you're in those younger ages and something like that happens and you see that kind of loss, it does have a profound impact on you. You might not think so at the time, but it wasn't. I mean, I'm 42 now, and it took me till only about this last year where I kind of was able to recognize certain things and how they impacted me and set the course and how I adjusted. So, I mean, I definitely, know firsthand how that affects a lifetime. And like he says, I had a very similar experience. And I know what you're talking about, Byron. Like, you have your path, and you're like, and then there's this one right next to it, but there's some sort of disconnect almost, and you're not quite sure, like, well, how can I, like, this is like almost like this is what I know where I should be going, but I'm right next to it, and I can't seem to, jump the fence and get over there, because I know that's the right path, but for some reason you're just kind of like lockstep right next to it. So yeah, I mean, I obviously I appreciate big time what Byron shared in the first 10 minutes here, because there's people out there that have gone through this, and they need to hear this next part of the story and where Byron is now, and how he's triumphing. We've seen it firsthand hanging out with him.
Yeah, and that's where sorry, Byron, but I wanted to turn it over to Jason, because I know Jason's story as well. Jason and I have sat down, so I know your story kind of hit home with him. So wanted to kind of go there, but now at that age, after losing 2 of your siblings, I know where, before you kind of go too far into what you're going to go into next, was how much of where was your energy geared towards? I mean, what did you do to get through it? Because sometimes we engulf ourselves into work, we engulf ourselves into working out, some people alcohol, some people, in this part I don't even know, but I'm assuming with you and the type of person you are and your personality that you might have started engulfing yourself in with your personality is being is in work. Whatever work you were doing, that's where it was geared. So correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, if you don't mind going that route.
Yeah, you know, that's always been the case, though, and I guess because my wife always says that I'm the type of person that is I'm not good at being an Indian. I'm better at being a chief. So at any time I was working, I was always pushing to be the best, and so when I had some you know, when things were going bad, I could see where I probably immersed myself a little bit more in the focus. But I've always had kind of a drive. And, you know, I mentioned that I changed careers 3 times just because I couldn't see myself being in those careers for 30 years. And I actually had someone tell me, you'll never be successful if you keep jumping ship or keep changing your path. And my response was, I'm never going to be successful if I keep doing this. This is just going to kill me. I'm not happy here. And, you know, in the story is kind of interwoven. I mean, I worked with my dad after my older brother died, and I grew up in this business. He had quit the sales business, and again, he's the best salesperson I ever met. And he had grown a heating and air conditioning and electrical company in Georgia, and we ended up being one of the biggest in Georgia. He was always very successful as well, and I kind of worked in that business. It was kind of the father-son thing, and you know, I just couldn't see myself in that business forever. I just didn't like construction, and maybe it was because I grew up in it, and it's a natural rebellion course of a young man or whatever. So I started in retail, not knowing anything about retail. I just got a job, and from that part-time job, I was promoted to like a department manager within 6 months. Within 6 months of that, I was promoted to a sales manager, and I was in the designate program. And at 26 years old, I was in line to take my own store for a corporate retail spot. And I learned that once they got you on salary, they kind of owned you, man. And if I went from an assistant manager to a manager, my raise was going to be like 3%. I was already spending 60 or 70 hours in the store just to do my job, and you know, that was miserable. With my I'm competitive. Like, I will beat my kids at checkers. I won't let them win. You know, I just play better. That's my deal. You know, and if my store or my categories were one in the region or the company or the district or whatever, I stayed until it was. I could not be number 2, and it just burned me up. I hated it, I can't stand not being the best. And but I realized that retail was a racket, that I just was never going to get anywhere on a salary working for a large conglomerate like that. And so I just quit. And part of my quitting was kind of it was both an opportunity and a necessity in the fact that this time was after my younger brother's suicide. So my parents had lost 2 children. And what had happened was my dad was alive, but he wasn't living. You know, when you look at somebody that's been through a tragedy, and they're there, but they're just not there. You know, the hollowness in the eyes, they're not alive. There's no life in their blood. There's no spirit in what they do. And his business was failing. Paying him money. He wasn't, you know, it was just like he had to get up every day and go do this stuff. And so I told my wife that this was not fair, and I wasn't going to deal with this. I just wasn't going to put up with it. So I quit my job and moved back home to where my dad was, and basically single-handedly collected money, run people off that weren't worth paying to do a job, and I actually got his business back in the black. And I had been doing some part-time direct sales, belly-to-belly, one-on-one, fair commission sales. And when I got Dad's business back in the black, there just wasn't enough money for 2 people to live on, so I just jumped full-time into sales. And I just decided, sink or swim, this is how I'm going to make my living. And I ended up doing that for probably 10 years, just direct sales. And, you know, my my dad was my hero. You know, the first person I called when I made a sale was not my wife, not all these. It was my dad. You know, and then there was this proudness in his voice when I made a sale that you could tell, like, he would revert back to his old sales days and think, that's my boy. You know what I mean? And my whole life was about making him proud. I mean, I was a jerk when I was a teenager and went wild or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Like, when you get older, dude, and I mean, your dad's your dad. I mean, I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. Surely you can.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can, you know, and but it's not to cut you off, but just they're important to you. You know, this is the same with me. Even my dad, I lost my dad a year and a half ago, and I still grab my phone every now and then to go give him a call to let him know what the kids have done, and then I'm like, oh, he already knows, he's watching. But it's
Dude,
that
that's
habit.
so weird, because for years I would have a question and I would naturally pick up my phone to call my dad to get his advice, and then it would like dawn on me that I couldn't talk to him. It was just it's just not fun at all.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the next part of the story.
Yeah. I'll let you go there, or take it there.
Okay, so you know, my dad had this big business and rental houses and construction and just all kinds of things going on, and he loved the ocean. And he had bought a little condo down on the coast of Georgia, below Savannah. And I get a phone call one day, and he said, Byron, I think I'm going to sell out. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, he says, I'm ready to retire down to my condo, and I'd like for you and Miranda to move down there with us to Savannah, you know. And he says, here's what I want to do. He says, if you'll teach me all that product, I'll teach you how to build a big organization. Because in the sales organization he was a part of as I was growing up, he had one of the largest organizations in that business. And I was just floored, man. That would be like, you know, whoever your hero is in your business giving you a call and said, look, I'm just going to go into business from you from now on. I mean, you know, think of who you want to think of. Let's say Mark Hoverson called you up and said, brother, Eddie, me and you's going into business. Okay, that was the equivalent. And I had never been on a bigger high in my life. Like, first time I started having visions of grand, you know, big organizations and stuff. And he was actually finishing up one of the last jobs that he had before he was kind of done, and he was going to put everything for sale. And he, like I said, he felt sorry for guys, and he would hire these guys that he shouldn't have hired. And that morning there was two of them that were supposed to be there to finish that job with him, and neither one of them showed up. And my dad was just not the kind of person to watch work. You know what I mean? He wasn't going to sit there and look at it. So he climbed up on a ladder, and he had been replaced for a while. And he was working on a ladder above his head. He was on the second rung of a 6-foot ladder, so it wasn't like he was on an extension ladder. And his knee gave way, and he fell backwards, and he busted his head. And apparently it was bad enough that he couldn't get up or whatever, but he ended up bleeding out and dying in that basement by himself. And that was devastating. That was you know, that was the day I had a nervous breakdown in his yard. I mean, I literally lost control and come completely unglued. And that was one of the hardest days of my life. And so everything kind of dashed apart at that point. You know, I didn't have a dream.
You know, Byron, just give you a break or breather here, but if I want you guys that are watching this rerun or watching this live, it's just this does several things, and I hope you guys grasp the power of this. This helps somebody like Byron release what's on his shoulder and put it out there. But if you're willing to receive it, it could help you guys in so many ways. Jason's been witness to it. Jason's been part of it. I've been part of it for some time, and it's stuff like this that this is powerful stuff, and there's a reason. And he's not doing this for attention. He's doing this so some of you guys that have gone through some of these things, that have lost somebody close to you, somebody that you love, somebody close to your heart, no matter how it's happened, and sometimes it still hurts, but does not mean life ends for you. Does not mean it needs to end for you. And Byron, I can't thank you. I know, Jason, if you want to say a couple words real quick before we turn it back over to Byron.
Yeah. Whoo. Try to give Byron a little extra breather here. What I find so impressive in the last 15 minutes of what Byron has shared and learning more about his story is I am so beyond impressed with Byron, because I think of what the reminder I'd like to give people, and Eddie touched on this at the beginning, about everybody's got a powerful story. And as I hear Byron tell his, it reminds me that in the grocery line next to you, the guy you work with at your job, or the guy that you're sitting next to at an event, like Eddie and I did last weekend, there are heroes among us every day, because they get hit with something that sometimes can seem earth-shattering, and somehow they continue to lead by their daily actions. And I want people to take that to heart tonight. So the next time you get caught up in your own bullshit and you're, bitching and complaining, just take a moment, turn, and just take a glance at the person behind you in the grocery line, because you don't know what they've been through and what they continue to strive for and how they're winning, because they're leading by example, by the fact that they're here and they're giving everything they got. So kudos to you, Brian. Brian, I can't even form the right name right now. I'm so jacked up. So Byron, kudos to you, man. I'm so glad I'm here live.
Byron. Well, I don't know how you want to go from here, but obviously that hurt. Obviously that's a huge chunk of your life that was taken out. So.
Well, and it was just, it was the thief of my dreams as well. You know what I mean? All the plans and all that. I understand that I'm not the only person that lost their father. I'm not arrogant enough to provide it that way. But just the situation and, working with him after losing two brothers, and it's just a culmination of things. And so, I just kind of lost a dream. I just didn't have it anymore. And, my sales business started to fail a little bit. It wasn't, I was paying the bills, but it wasn't succeeding by any means. And I was really, I had this rage that I couldn't cool off, and I was angry at God, and I was angry at just in general, and everything was failing. And I don't want to sound real hokey, but I was sitting at home one day, and I was just, I was reaching out for something. Something had to change or break loose, and I knew I was better than just wallow in mediocrity. And I got online, and I don't even remember what I was looking for. I think I was looking for an at-home business. I just felt like I needed a change, and I came across a video by a marketer, and the guy's name was Mark Overson, and you guys are familiar with Mark. And I'd never heard anybody talk that way, and he talked about empowerment. He talked about taking charge and being successful, and he mentioned Jim Rohn a couple of times, and I'd never heard of Jim Rohn. So I immediately go to a bookstore and bust up in there and get some Jim Rohn, how to live an exceptional life. And it just flipped a switch, man. It literally got me in the situation where I felt like I had control again. And, you know, I started working on my faith and my relationship with God again. And I started working on my marriage to an extent that I had never worked before. My wife and I have always been close and had a good marriage. But, you know, I put a new enthusiasm in it. And I decided that all the greatness that I was feeling inside of me my whole life, it was time to direct it somewhere. So I had a focus all of a sudden. And everything changed when I decided. I think it's always about a choice. I decided that things were going to be better. I mean, I don't know if anybody has ever done this, but like after my dad died and after my brothers passed away, I had a lot of internal anxiety that I didn't know how to deal with. I would have active daytime hallucinations about bad things happening to my family when they weren't with me. Like I could see my kids in accidents and my wife. It was horrible. It was just horrible. And it still happens some, but I've been able to replace that with positive energy and positive things and the creation of a business and helping other people. I mean, and it comes a point where you feel like you're worthy to help other people, or I never felt like that before. And now, you know, when we were talking, you kept going, your story's powerful, man, your story's powerful. I'd never thought of it that way. I've always thought of it as just the crap I've dealt with over my life. You know what I mean? So I appreciate this opportunity, man, I really do. I know there's people that have tragic things that destroy them. And, you know, you can choose to get out of that. You can choose to, and it's not easy, and you still have bad days. I have days where I just, you know what I'm saying, where it just ain't going right.
You know, Byron, like you said, you know, it's I learned the same thing, but sometimes we don't see our own value. And even when other people see value in us and other people tell us, we still don't see it. And it's one of those things with people all around, no matter what it is we need to recognize we all have value. We all have worth. You know, I know some people like have been through extreme circumstances and they feel it's nobody's business but my own that I went through what I went through. But yet then you got somebody who went through the same thing or even worse that shared their story. And I know you're not sitting here saying, woe is me. That's not you. But by sharing your story, I think you're releasing a lot of stuff. But there's somebody out there that's got to see this that goes, you know what? Byron said it's a choice. After all that shit that he went through, he says he had a choice. It's not going to be easy. If he's doing it, then why the hell can't I? And that's what this show's about, and that's what you're about, Byron. I mean, you bust your ass. Me and Jason know it. Obviously, your wife knows it. That's, I'm sure, a big part of why she loves you. Your family and friends love it. So, yeah, keep on, man. I'll let you take on. Continue.
I mean, that's just it at this point. Now, you know, part of it is having a focus on what you really want. You know, I went through an exercise, and it was a goal-setting exercise, and it was done by one of my mentors, one of the people that I really, really get helped out a lot by, and it's kind of unique because this person doesn't have any monetary ties to me, and she's a little short woman. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but she's
a tough one. I love her.
and you know, I went through that goal setting thing, and you know what I realized, Eddie, that very few of my goals are surrounded by money. Now, money facilitates freedom to participate in some of my goals, but the goals are not focused on money, but they are focused on things that are very, very important. And when you get those things crystal clear, when you know what you're fighting for, it's amazing what you can do. It's amazing. I mean, you know, I don't sleep much. I told you that. I think I told you at the event. I don't sleep much, man. My mind is so it works overtime, and it keeps me from sleeping a lot of times. But it's helped me sort of become creative, and I think part of that's also determined not to ever stop learning. I mean, you got to read, you got to study, you got to put the time in, or you're not going to benefit anybody. And so, I don't watch TV anymore. I mean, I talk to people who are starting a business, and you say, "Do you want it bad?" And they say, "Yeah, I want it bad. I don't have a lot of money put in it." And you say, "Well, let me ask you something. How much does your cable bill run every day, every month?" "Oh, it's $140, but I don't want to get rid of that." How much money is it making you? What is CNN and Fox News teaching you that can benefit you in your relationships, in your business, and in your life? And I think the answer is zero. I have not physically, personally turned on a television in months. There's been one on before. So I just think when you get crystal clear, you know what you're fighting for. You can eliminate worthless things, worthless people, worthless situations in your life, and it will pull you out of any situation you're in. I'm telling you, man, you can be anywhere and get to anywhere. You just gotta want to do it, and it's not just want, it's not just belief. You've got to put some motion behind it. But I believe that people can do whatever they want to do, man.
And that's one thing that grabbed me about you. I knew you were a hard worker, and you're humble though too. And I know sitting next to you, I had you on one side and Jay Boom on the other side, and I know me and Jay Boom have had some good talks over beers and got to know each other real well, and so it's like, all right, I don't see Byron, but I was kind of, I shouldn't say caught off guard. It's hard to tell, you try and wonder how much people know, but you know a lot more than I thought you might have. But you're so humble to say, I don't know this, I don't know this, I don't know this, and I want to learn it because it's going to benefit me. And you focus more on what you didn't know, and that's the whole thing with life. And I know Jason can attest to this too, so Jason, I'll let you speak here in a second. But you focused on what you needed to fill in those holes. Where some of us, and I've been guilty of it too, is I focused on what I got this, I'm good at that, and that's what I got, and I don't put any effort in here, but yet I want to be here in my goals. And I know, Jason, I mean, you and I talk tons. What are your thoughts real quick before we turn it back to Byron?
Well, first of all, the way Byron broke down the talking to a prospect about the cable TV and what's that making you, I think it's zero. Byron, I think you were channeling a little bit of Jim Rohn there. That came out totally. That was Rohn, like all the way. That style of delivery. But yeah, I mean, I knew that Byron knew a lot of stuff in his studies of definitely salesmanship for sure. We've heard his story. He kind of grew up in the sales business, and then what he's been learning about internet marketing. And I'm right with Eddie. Like when we were sitting in on that same table, and I think all of us tried to approach it that way. Like we just kind of walked in there and dumped our egos because we knew we had holes, that we needed to fill with information and with knowledge. And Byron definitely he was giving everything he could to that process, soaking it in, putting in the work. And speaking of that, that short mentor that he was talking about, through his efforts of providing value first, he has built a great, relationship with that leader, because he's a leader himself in action. And I think that's so impressive because everything he's doing is from integrity, and it's about how do I serve first, then, there'll be an exchange. So yeah, I mean we got to watch Byron do his thing firsthand, the whole weekend. So.
Yeah, definitely. So Byron, now that you're kind of finding it, and I got to throw this out there because I'd do him a disservice if I didn't, was Jeremiah saying you sound exactly like Jim Rohn. With the Georgia accent, though.
Well, you and I, we've talked a lot about personal development, and I've got strong opinions. I mean, I feel like, first of all, you can't, sometimes in my personal opinion, people use personal development as an emotional high. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a temporary drug to make you feel better till you get back to your normal life. And what I found is oftentimes those same people, but they never implement the steps. So I always try to be very careful that I'm always working on the steps and not just immersing myself in the feel-good part of it. And you know, I've got a faith-based lifestyle, and I've got things that I believe. So a lot of personal development, I mean, you know, I've talked about this. I don't buy into all of it. It's a little, you know, out there for me. But Jim Rohn speaks to me because he's so much about eliminating the lack of discipline on one hand and replacing it with a discipline on this hand. Whether it's not eating things with sugar in it and eating better, you know, it's one discipline that replaces a poor judgment. And he just speaks to me on a different level. So I immerse myself in Jim Rohn's teaching. So a lot of his habits and then speaking the way he speaks has kind of worn off. So I can do impressions a little more impromptu than I can put on the spot.
And you are live internationally wide.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But, you know,
can't continue with that because a lot of people think personal development. I heard Bill Walsh speak, and he has a show in Chicago called The Rainmaker. I never heard of him until I saw him at No Excuses for an event in Vegas. And one thing he says, he goes, I don't call myself a motivational speaker. He goes, because he looked at it this way. He says, what do you get when you motivate a bunch of, you know, he goes, if you got a room full of idiots and you motivate them, the only thing you have after that is a bunch of motivated idiots. You know, you want growth. So yeah, continue on that. Touch up on that a little bit more on how Jim Rohn or anybody else has helped you.
You know, Jim Rohn used to say that too. He'd say, you know, you don't just need motivation. You need skills. You know, you need a good philosophy. You need habits and you know, he said if you're an idiot and you get motivated, you're a motivated idiot. And he's, you know, he kind of put it the same way. And you know, I have a way of putting it, and I talk to people because, you know, as you progress in this industry or whatever industry, I don't care what industry you're going to have a set of mentors and people that you view better than you as far as their skills and the level of implementation, and you're going to listen to those people. And today, something someone says might mean something to me. Something else they say may mean nothing. But a year from now, the same thing that they said that didn't mean anything can have a lot of meaning. So I make it a practice not to argue with or disagree with a lot of that. But I always put it like this, and I always tell my new prospects this. Look, when you're learning, when you hear things that you can implement and use, internalize them, bring them in, put them in your heart, and focus outwardly and make it happen. But if you hear something that don't jive with you, or it doesn't, you know, you have a philosophical difference because of how you believe or a belief system conflict, don't disagree, don't argue, just leave it with that person. Just let them keep it, because you don't want to conflict that later on if it can help you a year, 2, 5 years down the road. So I always make it a practice of always listening to whatever anybody that I really respect and feel like can help me. I listen to everything they say, but I don't internalize 100% of it. And I don't think anybody should, because then you're gullible. You know, then you just buy everything. And I don't think it should be that way. I think you should have critical thinking even when you're listening to something. I mean, even when I listen to Jim Rohn, it's with a critical ear. It's with, if I hear something that just doesn't jive with my personal belief system, I just kind of let that statement rest. And then I take the rest of the stuff and try to implement it. And I work on it. Look, dude, we're all people, which means we're imperfect and we have flaws. And, you know, And so it's never ever ending. I work on, especially my bad flaws. I work on them all the time, and they're just like, they're like a bad penny. They just keep turning up, and I have to constantly cool them and push them back down and try to replace disciplines. And it's you always fit. It's kind of like when you work out. Like Eddie, you work out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you work out all the time, right? When you start lifting weights, you become forever small, because then you realize you're never going to be as big as you want to be. You're never going to be as strong as you think you ought to be. When you start flexing those muscles and you start making some gains and doing things that you haven't done in the past, it's a constant game, dude. You're locked in. You're forever small. Does that make sense?
No, not to me. If you want to touch up on that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one on forever small. Or that just nothing's ever going to be fulfilling?
Well, no, it's things can be fulfilling, but look, man, you start lifting weights and you start seeing muscles where you didn't have them before, and you start seeing some progress. You know what you want? You want more progress. So even if you're bigger and stronger than you was, you want to be bigger and stronger. So you're forever small. And I kind of think the personal development road is kind of the same way. I mean, you build skills and ideas, and your mind starts becoming creative when you listen to this. When you start working your mind, it's like a muscle. It gets bigger and stronger and faster and quicker, but it's never as big and as fast and as quick as you want it to be. So you got to dive back in there and get some more and get some more and get some more. Learning is addictive to me. I don't read fiction. I don't look at magazines that are worthless. If I read, I want to learn something, man. So that's that philosophy of forever small. You just keep digging, keep digging, keep digging.
I'm with you. Vidal, Jason, you got it. Habit.
I just play. I'm not Vidal, but I play one during Empowerment Hour.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, what's up?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you have anything to touch up on what Byron was just talking about? I know you're a big reader. I mean,
oh, yeah.
And I got this book right here that you gave me because you saw value in it and shared it with
my extra one, too.
Exactly.
But no, real quick, because we have had a couple people pop on. We had Jesus. He was like, Byron, thank you so much for sharing your story. So he was watching live. Richard Ramirez jumped on quick just to say thank you for sharing this, Byron. He's definitely going to watch the replay, so I don't know if he's kind of on the fly. So a couple people hanging out with us tonight and showing their gratitude. One very powerful thing that Byron touched on in regards to how he still keeps his critical mind working as he works through personal development, whether it be his favorite Jim Rohn or someone else. And I love that philosophy because too many times, especially in the personal development field, like you can get so caught up in that awesome good feeling when you dive into those books the first time that you just take everything as gospel because you figure, well, this guy wrote a book or he's got this video course, he's got this speech, and you just like, I got to have it all, and that must be perfect for me too, and then they just they just go crazy. So I think that's a very important point because you have to stay true to your own vision and your own self, even as you continue to build yourself up. You can't just take everything spoon-fed and then just swallow it. You got to at least take a taste, like, okay, that's in line with my thinking. Well, that one maybe not so much. So, cool. I'll read it or I'll take it in. But then what's the next thing? So I think that's a very important point because too many beginning people getting into personal development can maybe have that almost like a positive overwhelm where they just take it all in. So I think that was huge. That's a huge lesson for a lot of folks.
Yeah, one of the things I recommend to people is read the wrong books. I read books about corporate America. I read books about things that are not industry related. You'll be amazed at the lessons or the ideas that will come from reading the wrong books, man. Just, get books about the grocery business or read Sam Walton's book, How He Grew a Retail Empire. I guarantee you there'll be things you can implement, things that you can do. You know, Sam Walton's book is big on the reliance of other people. You know, uh, I read Ross Schaefer's books, and he is a customer service expert, and he talks about being relevant in the marketplace, and his point of view is talking to big companies. But if you read it as a marketer, you can garner a lot of stuff out of it. And so don't ever put yourself in a box that you only read information about internet marketing or multi-level marketing, because there's a wealth of information out there about every subject out there. And so all these different books, read the wrong books, man. I tell people that all the time. Read the wrong books.
That's funny. I never heard that. Read the wrong books, but I agree with you, because I tell a lot of people everything's intertwined. Everything is intertwined. Whether you can relate sports to life, to a relationship, to your business, or to your work ethic. Everything is somehow intertwined. So if you don't put a lot of effort into your business, and you do the same, that's the same way you are with your relationship, you're going to keep losing your boyfriends, girlfriends, or you're going to be married umpteen times. And it's a reflection of that if you don't break down the basics and put the key elements, implement work into the key elements that create something like that to be prosperous, whether it's a business, a workout program, no matter what it is. We're not just talking like networking companies or what we're associated with. It's just life in general. But yeah, reading the wrong books. I never thought of that, but I like that, because I'm sure you can. I can see it.
Yeah, read Tony Hawk's biography. That's a good one.
And to look into some of that. So you guys out there, see, we're all learning. We're always learning, and that's something cool. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So. No, that's awesome. But
this is the fun stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah. But just kind of reflect on, for you guys watching, and Byron, I'll let you touch up on this after I kind of go on this.
Eddie, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, please.
We had the Big Chips. Much love, fam. Too many phone conferences, hangouts, webinars tonight. You guys are rocking it. So Big Chips giving Byron a shout out. So.
Sweet. Dennis, too.
Chips.
Yeah, Dennis said something, too. Did you guys hear?
Oh, there he is. There's Dennis. Right on.
Dennis said something. We met Dennis a little over at the same event. So thanks, Dennis and Jeremy. But real quick, guys, I hope you guys you guys that are watching this got value from it. The value of kind of maybe shed some light on your life. And we all go through things. There's nothing that's set. With what I'm doing, I'm writing a book on the effects of suicide. I've actually been in a position to where somebody's told me they wanted to take their own lives. I've dealt with people like that. And it's stuff like that if we share it with other people, and some of you guys may be watching this, you may be in a lonely place, you may have just lost somebody close to you. Something like this is powerful. Byron went deep. And I don't know, Byron only knows what he got from this by sharing this. But the thing is we can all learn from each other. And it's just one of those things that I'm blessed to sit here and be a part of this. Jason's blessed to be a part of it. I mean, and those of you guys that are watching, blessed to hear his story. Take something from this hour show and implement it somehow in your life. Remember, Byron said it's a choice. So, Byron, you got some last words before we close this out here?
Yeah, I'm just grateful for guys like yourself. This is something that I didn't really plan on when I started in this business, was to build relationships. You hear that in this industry a lot, and I think there's a lot of terms. We talked about this at the event too. I think there's a lot of terms that they get overused. And I think that's one of them, build relationships. But when you do find a group of people that you can relate to, and I mean, all of our backgrounds are pretty different, but they have common threads, and it just draws you closer. And that stuff what connects you. But when you get to know each other and you build real friendships, that means a lot to me. So I really appreciate you guys being there, and I really appreciate y'all Thinking enough of me to come on and tell my story. This is the first kind of public forum that I've ever had an opportunity to just sort of go through some of the events in my life, and I appreciate it. I'm like you. If there's one person out there that goes, you know what, that's kind of where I'm sitting right now, and I need to get out of it, then it was worth kind of going through the emotions of telling it. So I just appreciate it, man. I just I'm forever humbled when I get complimented by people that I respect. So.
Well, thank you. J Boom, any last words before we close this out?
Yeah, actually, I got my envelope here. These are all my notes I've been jotting down with my Sharpie here. So Byron definitely brought value. And the one thing that really, I think this is a good point to make sure to hammer home for those folks out there tonight, like Byron said, maybe you're in that spot, that tough spot. And it's something he said early in the show, and really into those tough times. He talked about he felt like his dreams were stolen. It was like a thief of that tough stuff was the thief of his dreams. But then he talked about a choice. And for me, what was powerful about that is like, yeah, maybe there was a moment that was the thief of his dreams, but then he made every day going forward, he makes a choice. He's stealing it back. He's stealing it back every damn day that he does what he did today for all of you. So that was the most powerful point for me is, so people, if you're watching this replay and you had a tough break and you had got some rough times, make the choice like Byron did and just say, you stole it from me just for this moment. I'm stealing it back. I'm grabbing it back and I'm running because I got stuff to do. I got people's lives to change. So yeah, you talked about being grateful for the opportunity, Byron. I am beyond damn grateful to know you as a colleague and a friend, and I am really damn grateful I got done with work early tonight that I got to be on as the designated hitter for Vidal. So I think Vidal's going to be jealous that he has to watch this on a replay. So God bless you, man, and that's all I got, Eddie, man.
All right. Well,
one of the most meaningful things I've ever heard is Jim Rohn has about a 10-minute speech on the day you get fed up. You know, the day you hit rock bottom can be the most powerful day of your life.
Yep.
You know, and if you can find that on YouTube or somewhere, just listen to it because that 10 minutes changed my life.
Yep.
And that's powerful stuff. I mean, that's powerful stuff. It takes work from there. You know, last weekend I had my major breakthrough at the event that the three of us were at. And it wasn't that it solved my life's issues. It just brought some clarity to some things I have wrong. So now I can address it with a certain plan of attack. So it's something like this show. Some of you guys may get this, and this is what the buttons are for below this video. If you want to connect with Byron, connect with him, you know, friend request him, you know, share with him how his stories touch your life. You can connect with me and Vidal. Jason, you can find him at Jason, where can we find you at?
Just my name, jasonlegard.com, always the best place, or else on Facebook.
Yep, so you can find Jason there too. Jason is a good friend of myself and Vidal. So I hope you guys got some value. Please comment below this video if you're watching the replay. Share how Byron's story has touched you in any sense, if it has. And we want to thank you guys for watching us live. We want to thank you guys and gals for watching the replay. This is episode 18. And Byron, we're blessed to have you here, brother. So any last words before we close out?
No, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, actually, I want to wrap up with this comment we just got on under the wire from Kimberly. She said, "What a story. This video is definitely worth a second watch. So much valuable information. Thanks, Byron." So I think that's a perfect way. If you're getting this replay, you got to watch it more than once. So I think that's great. That's just awesome.
Well, thank you, Kimberly, for sharing that. Thank you, Big Chips. Thank you, Dennis and Jesus, for commenting, and Richard, too. So, and the rest of you watching the replay, please comment below. Vidal should be on next week. Things are taken care of. And you guys have a good morning, evening, afternoon, and we'll see you guys soon.